Good afternoon. I'm Dan DeRose with 19 News, coming to you from our digital desk. Just walking through a press release that came out from the FBI today. It is the week of Valentine's. We all like to be in love and hope that there's someone for everyone, but that's also what the scammers are hoping. And the FBI, as well as Cuyahoga County and the Department of Consumer Affairs, hoping people steer clear of what's known as romance scams or confidence trust scams, where somebody that seems to be too good to be true, beautiful profile picture, whether it's on a dating website or even just on social media, and it begins with conversation, but it ends with, unfortunately, some people just getting absolutely devastated financially and emotionally. Let's not forget there are hearts and minds involved in this. The FBI estimating in 2003 in Ohio alone, 2003, $15.3 million was scammed from people in this. And think about that. That's just scratching the tip of the iceberg, because we know that some people, are going to be embarrassed and maybe ashamed that they were taken advantage of, that they fell into this. And so some of those numbers just don't get reported. So the fact that the FBI is saying $15.3 million, there's really no telling how high that number goes up. With that in mind, let's talk about how to protect yourself, how to protect family members. We're going to bring in Cheryl Harris. She is with the Cuyahoga County Department of Consumer Affairs. Cheryl, how are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for covering this important topic.
It is important because whether it's that can't happen to me, or my grandmother, my grandfather, my uncle, my aunt would be way too smart to fall for this. It's unfortunately not the case. These scammers have been working on this for years. They know what works and they know what doesn't work. Why? Because I'm sure the majority of people that are watching are going to say there's no way people actually fall for this. And we know that's not true.
Right. And also, you're right. Scammers have developed their techniques over time, and they've learned from their mistakes. And the only one new in the game is each of us, right? I mean, they are very practiced. They're running these kinds of scams against lots of people all the time. This is how they make their livings. And usually romance scams aren't, someone just walking up on the street and saying, like suddenly contacting you through social media and saying, wow, I'm in love with you. It isn't like that. They have like they do a friendship, they layer on over time. And so it builds just like almost it feels like sort of a natural relationship. It's maybe a little bit more speeded up, but they, very quickly, sort of, establish an affinity with a person. And it feels very, I think for people who are involved in romance scams, it feels like they're very insulated. It's just that person and this person that they believe is a real person that they're talking to. And people can get in very, very deep. And because it's such a deep emotion, everybody wants to be loved. Everybody wants to have someone who understands them and thinks they're wonderful all the time. I mean, it's very intoxicating, and it's hard to pull out of that emotion, to withdraw or to look at it in a real, take a step back and to look at that.
Let's talk about when it gets into money. We've heard all the old tricks. Oh, my mother is sick and needs a kidney transplant, and then it's a heart transplant, and then it's a lung transplant, whatever. But they're also getting smart with that too. What are some of the maybe other ways / new ways that they're coming up with? Oh, suddenly, can you get me some money?
Right. So, and we actually are a little worried about this one right now because some of the romance scams we see are people who are creating fake accounts for celebrities. And because fires recently went through California, it's possible they'll use that as a ploy for asking for money for people. Romance scammers will do direct asks. Sometimes they're on a remote set and they can't get somewhere. They're in a remote place, they can't get to an ATM, they'll pay back, whatever. But we also have seen in recent years, these turn into almost investment scams. they like, I'm wealthy, I've invested my money in this, and you could be wealthy too, and then we can be wealthy together in the future. Um, and they connect people with, of course, their fake broker and everything else. So many of the people who start out in these romance scams, they wind up investing based on the advice that they would get from someone they think is a real person. And then it's, of course, just going into a Bitcoin account that's controlled by the scammer. So there's that too. And then we also have, we have flirty friend kind of romance scams. They don't come with the same like promises of marriage or anything that a typical romance scam would come with. It's sort of like flirtatious and fun and texts, and there's no commitment kind of thing, but they usually will bring up the investment type thing. And for victims who start giving these money out, you know, they give, and they become so programmed to give whenever this person has a problem, or to give it the prompts, that sometimes they really lose track of how much money they've lost until their accounts are empty.
Yeah, bled dry. I mean, they're very good at this, and it used to be in the news, and consumer groups such as the county and yourself have done a very good job of, hey, nobody takes, Apple iPay, whether it's the IRS or whatever. So we've gotten very good about warning people, don't ever go buy cards and gift cards and give out that number. But now that we get into Zelle and super easy ways, Venmo, to send money, it's actually become even easier. What do you, and we had this conversation a little bit before we started, this isn't just the older population anymore. That's how good the scammers have gotten. It is everybody. What is a conversation that you should maybe just have casually with people in your family? How do you bring it up without offending somebody?
Oh, it's really hard for families when someone is deep in. Like, the easier place to get them is when they're just at the start. But if someone's already giving money, they're really invested in that relationship. And so I would, if you have a family member and you are concerned that they're involved in a romance scam, I would encourage people to call Scam Squad. That line rings into our office. It's 216-443-7226. And we actually have some tip sheets and some ways that you can approach that aren't going to hopefully create a division. Because what we've seen in the past is sometimes when people try to intervene in these scams, family members, the victim confides in the scammer, and the scammer says, oh, they just want your money. They don't care about, they don't want you to be happy. So it gets to be a point where people have to choose between their family, the real people who love them, or a scammer who's someone who's not real and who wants only their money. And many of those victims will choose the scammer because it feels real. And then that's another whole layer of emotional travesty that happens at the end of these scams. So we have tip sheets for folks, and we are happy to share some techniques and ways to approach folks. But if you can keep the conversation open, that's better. Don't be judgmental about it, because it's such a layered psychological scam. And in every family, there's always that kind of there's one person who gets really hot all the time and gets really yelly, and then there's the other one who's more laid back. The laid back person has to be the one to be having the conversations, because any kind of judgment or anger is going to close that person down, and we don't want that to happen.
Yeah. Everybody has the yelly family member.
Everybody has the yelly one.
Let's talk about, and just as we close out here, it used to be, well, if you can't get the person on the phone, they're not real. Well, now computers and technologies have gotten so good that if the person is in India, they have a device that they can wear that makes them sound English.
They have cameras that can alter their looks completely to be something else, to animate a photograph that's not them. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of technology that can be brought in.
So it's not even enough to say, well, get them on a video call. At least that will prove they're real. Well, that's the problem. AI is getting so good that they can, whatever fake picture they sent you, they will use that fake picture to make that a real AI person. And so the technology is getting better every day. The scammers are getting better every day. Just make sure if you have someone in your family or if someone reaches out to you, that you have no idea how they would have met you. Again, their page looks way too good to be true, and they're selling you a love story. You just have to pump the brakes. As you said, Cheryl, everyone wants to be in love and have those feelings, and the scammers are going to prey on that. Anything else you want to leave us with on this conversation?
Yeah, here's like, just for everyone out there, like how you can tell, I mean, at the end of the day, how you can tell, is it a real person who cares about you or a scammer who's after your money? The minute they ask you to send money, you know it's a scammer. Only scammers will do that. People who love you are not asking you for handouts or payments. They care about you. They don't care about your cash.
Yeah, and even gets down to, well, let me fly to Cleveland. I'd love to come see you. A little tight.
Yeah.
Can you send me the $500 for the plane ticket? Giant red flag. Cheryl Harris with the county and the Consumer Protection Division, we certainly appreciate it. Thanks for the warning and the heads up as we approach Valentine's Day.
Thank you.
All right, take care. That'll wrap up our conversation on this. Again, multiple agencies out there warning people here the week of Valentine's Day. Don't fall victim to this. Again, I go back to that number because it is so eye-popping. $15.3 million lost by Ohioans, just Ohioans. I believe the number on a national scale, nationwide, $652 million lost in 2023. Now you know why the scammers are doing this, why this is their job, why they sit in dirty computer labs in some foreign country, because if they can just get one person to bite or $652 million worth of people to bite, it's a profit. If we have any other breaking news, it'll be here on our digital platforms. Our 3.5 hours of news and first alert weather are underway on Channel 19, so we'll see you over there. Until then, I'm Dan DeRosa with 19 News. Have a great day. Be safe.
19 News is everywhere. Download our CTV apps and follow us on social media @Cleveland 19 News.